Did you get a new puppy during the pandemic? Or maybe your older dog just needs to learn some new tricks. But with some training facilities closed and social distancing orders in place, hiring a trainer may be a little bit difficult right now. So what can you do? Let's bark about it. Welcome back to Alpha Paw, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a personal doggone mission to answer every question you've ever had about your fur babies. And today, we're talking about how we can train our dogs virtually. Luckily, we're joined today by an expert dog trainer, Brent LaBrada. Brent was integral in revamping the training programs and services at one of Los Angeles's premier dog training facilities. In 2016, he created his own training and consulting company, Canis, Behavior and Training to help educate dog trainers as well as dogs. His latest passion project is co-founding the Dog Trainers Podcast to energize and inform the new generation of dog trainers. Welcome to Alpha Paw, Brent.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I've been watching a lot of your guys' stuff, and honestly, I just fell down this rabbit hole of episode after episode after episode. So I'm really digging the approach and what you guys are up to on this channel, and you're a wonderful host, Bernie. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That is incredibly high praise. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Now, the first question I have for you, Brent, is if we're basically not really leaving the house that much these days, why is training even important anyway?
You want to know something funny? I hear that question a lot, and it's actually more important now than I would say it was then. I think there's a lot of things that we're seeing because of COVID and the lockdown. We're definitely seeing a lot more lack of socialization in dogs. We're definitely seeing dogs who are creating toxic attachments to their owner, codependency, separation anxiety. These dogs pretty much don't know how to do anything other than be with their humans, which in theory doesn't sound horrible, but it does suck. It does suck when we have people kind of going back to work, right? Like, thank God people are getting their jobs back and people are, going to the office again. But I'm dealing with, I kid you not, the last 6 months, I've done more private and virtual sessions in, I would say even 4 months than I did all of last year. Wow. And so there's a huge need for dog training right now. There's this big, this puppy boom when it comes to COVID. So everyone's getting a rescue and everyone's getting a new puppy. And so I wish there was more dog trainers, and I wish people kind of believed a little bit more in training, because we're dealing with some of the side effects of not training your dog for 6-7 months.
Absolutely. And regarding that unhealthy attachment that the dogs develop with their humans, I can vouch and say that it's mutual. So there's that.
Separation anxiety goes both ways for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what kind of things can we expect from virtual training? Is it really possible to gain, I guess, the complete package of training if the trainer isn't physically with you? There obviously are limitations, but I guess when it comes to at least the education, the strategies, the techniques, those things translate beautifully virtually. I can't tell you how many online courses I've taken that have changed my career. Watching videos, watching strategies. And the cool thing about online is hopefully we can record it and we can watch it over and over and over and over and over. So that really helps. That's true.
When it comes to dealing with like very intensive issues, let's say, for example, some behavior modification or some contextual issues, like if I have a dog who's aggressive in a certain, like on a walk at the park, right? That's harder to do. In my opinion, obedience, puppy raising, basic socialization strategies, household stuff like, teaching the dog not to get on the cat, house manners, if you will. Those things translate beautifully. And, I've been working with puppies as young as 8 weeks old, and in all different parts of the world, right? I had a client in Australia 2 days ago that we were doing virtual sessions with, because they're all on lockdown and none of their dog trainers can see clients. So there's a lot of things that do translate, but there's certain things that don't translate. Those you would, as a dog trainer, I'd really want to be there and see how people are handling them in real time. I would say the biggest issue I've had when trying to deal with things outside of a home is strong internet connection, right? I can't wait for this 5G to just blow up. because that would change the virtual training game so much.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, when people are, I guess, in the market for looking for dog trainers, what are certain qualities that they should be looking for in the person?
You know what? I think vibing with people is really, really important. I think there's so many talented dog trainers out there who are excellent training dogs. And one thing that we talk about a lot on the Dog Trainers podcast um, is the importance of teaching, and is the importance of being able to break down concepts and make you feel comfortable. Because, at the end of the day, the only way I can get through to the actual dog is by getting through to the human itself, right? And so when looking for a good dog trainer, I guess obviously you'd want to make sure that they are results driven, but that they also know what they're doing, right? And I think that's just as simple as having a conversation with them, getting to see if they make sense to you, getting to see what their approaches are, make sure you guys feel comfortable, and also make sure that in my personal opinion, make sure they have multiple approaches, because I really think that it's important to not be a one-sided trainer. I think one of the big things that we promote in my podcast, we kind of created a platform to help educate people to understand this crazy world of dog training, and the methods, the techniques, the whys, the context, and why these certain training methods exist, and why we would use this on a puppy and why we would use this on a crazy German Shepherd,
Totally.
So we wanted to make sense. So I really would say, get to know them, make sure they can educate you, and make sure that you can believe in them.
Awesome. Okay. So once you find the perfect dog trainer that kind of works with you, works with your dog, what are some of the things that you guys can work on together to improve your dog's behavior?
Great question. So we usually break up dog training into 4 basic areas, right? The first one that's very easy to go over, virtually, would be management systems, right? So if I have a little puppy, I'm potty training, or I'm chew training, or I'm trying to teach them not to, run around and tear stuff up. Management systems are everything that we do with dogs that isn't actual obedience, like where we put the dog, what games they play, what exercises. That translates beautifully virtually. Obedience training is something that we could also work on. This would be the second thing we focus on in dog training, teaching sits and downs and stays and come. In essence, what we're doing is we're teaching dogs language, right, and tasks that we really like. So that is super easy. I can't explain how much I learned again on virtually when it comes to advanced training techniques, right? So the third thing that doesn't necessarily always translate super well is our socialization stuff. I think we can talk about socialization in theory and socialization as a concept and how important it is for, let's say, puppies or new rescue dogs. The tricky part right now during COVID, though, is we're not even socializing as people, in person, right? I wish we could virtually have puppy parties for people or for dogs, and it would translate, but it doesn't. So after socialization, then the last thing would be relationship development, right? How can we teach our owners to be better parents to the dogs, right? And I think we're running into a lot of first-time dog owners during this COVID time. So we're getting a lot of coaching. We have to teach people it's okay to do this. It's okay to give your dog that type of bone. It's okay. And that's why I really like this YouTube channel, because it's answering all those questions. I think it's really awesome.
Oh, that makes me so happy. And I know my producer is going to just beam hearing that. So I know you mentioned your podcast, which sounds incredibly informative. So I guess in addition to that, I know that some people either don't want to or can't hire a trainer right now. What are some of the things that they should be working on at home with their dogs?
Yeah, great question. We'll break this up into 2 little categories because they're actually kind of parallel, but some people don't think that they're related. So puppies and rescues, right? We get a lot of new puppies. A puppy would qualify anything under 10 months as a puppy, right? And then a rescue dog would be any older dog that someone got who we don't know their past, or we didn't have them during the very toddler stage. And so what I would recommend is we really need to work on creating what we just controlled separation, right? We have to teach dogs different hobbies, different tasks, different self-soothing mechanisms, because, right now, if we were on this virtual call, technically my dog could be right here at my feet, and there's no problem with that, right? However, the problem is if I get up, go around the house, the dog follows me everywhere that I want to go, right?
Yeah.
So, well, a couple of things we want to make sure we work on is just prevention of separation anxiety. We also want to make sure that we are taking this face-to-face time to teach engagement, to teach focus, to teach the dog's languages, because our dogs get bored too, just like we got bored during quarantine where we couldn't do anything. Now life is a percentage back to normal. But yeah, we got to keep them stimulated. We got to teach them to be alone. We have to teach them to play their games on by themselves sometimes, just so that when things go back to normal, it's not such a hard shock for the dogs.
Now, do you teach humans how to be alone? Because I'm going to have issues. That one's going to be just as hard on me. So
I know.
We'll definitely be in touch about that.
Yep. Well, just like dogs, you gotta find other things that you like doing. So
I know. And finally, Brent, my last question is, what is one thing you wish people would know about training their dogs?
We want you guys to know that dog training is different from dog to dog. We want you guys to know that I want you guys to know that there's different methods of dog training because there's different owner dynamics, there's different types of dogs with different behaviors, and not every dog can fit into a one style method. So, have an open mind when you come into dog training. Really do your research on both sides of the spectrum. Try and see what trainers are knowledgeable enough, able to educate you properly. So that way you can give your dog what you need, because I can't express enough how many dogs people have said, I've worked with this trainer, and I've had no results. They say my dog's untrainable. The reason that happens is because we have one-dimensional trainers, or we have people who don't want to open their mind to, okay, maybe if I try this method or approach, I'll actually find success. So just have an open mind and understand that in dog training, our goal is to raise our dogs to be our companions. It's really important we have a balanced approach to that, right? Because not everything is going to be, cakes and frosting, and not everything is going to be, oh my gosh, torture. There has to be a balance between accountability and making sure that our dogs are doing the things that we want them to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been incredibly informative. Now, if people want to hear more about the things that you do and your dog training methods, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys can check us out on Instagram. It's at Canis Behavior. Canis is Latin for dog, for those of you guys who don't know. Canis Behavior. You guys can check us out on our YouTube channel as well. Just type in Canis Behavior and Training on YouTube. Go ahead and check out our podcast. This is my passion project for the last 8 months, and we've had the ability to interview some of the world's most famous dog trainers, and what they're giving us as knowledge is just so it just warms my heart to be able to give that to the new generation of dog trainers. That's at Dog Trainers Podcast, not the Dog Trainers Podcast. It's Dog Trainers Podcast. You can also find us on all podcast platforms as well.
Amazing. Well, I can feel your passion through the screen, and I love it. I love it. So we will definitely be linking to all of that down below in the description box.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Do you have more questions for Brent about dog training? Leave them in the comment section below. Again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Paw. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single doggone episode. We'll see you next time.